Hey everybody, Charlie Weiser again from EasyPiano.com. In today's lesson, I'm going to discuss 9th chords. All right. So now when we actually talk about 9th chords, this is where we kind of get on the borderline of where we're playing chords that have the root in them, or chords that are known as rootless chords, okay, or rootless chord voicings in the case that, we'll be using. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through both, and I'm going to teach you, a couple of voicings, one with the root, one without the root. Maybe if we have time, even go into another voicing after that. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So let's do this. Let's keep everything in the key of C right now. You remember in the last lesson where we learned about 7th chords, we learned that the C major 7th was the root, 3, 5, and 7, right? So if we play our C major scale and keep counting up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we'll actually end up on the D, which is known as the 9th. All right? And what happens is I'm going to keep counting up from here just to show you some of the other notes that relate to some of the other more advanced numbers. So 9 is right here. That's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15, right? So what happens is when we start getting into numbers above number 8, we refer to those as extensions, because what we're doing is we are actually extending the chord, all right? So let me give you an example. So the C major 7th chord again is root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just play that with my left hand right now. We got 1, 3, 5, 7. If I add a 9th to it, this is 8th, 9. I end up on the D, right? So this is a C major 9 chord, or C major 9th, okay? So we have the root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and the 9th. All right, so now one of the things we can do here, let me just show you a voicing really quickly that has the root in it, okay? So what I'm going to do is in my left hand, I'm going to play the root, the 3rd, right? In my right hand, I'm going to play the 7 and the 9. All right, so this is going to be my C major 9th chord. All right, so my voicing is 1, 3, 7, 9. I'll just refer to that as a 1379 voicing. All right, 13 meaning the left hand plays 1 and 3, right hand plays 7 and 9. All right, so if we go through the different qualities, you see here we don't have a 5th in this particular voicing. All right, so what happens is for the qualities, this is a C major 9th, right? Now you remember in the last video, or in book 1, focusing on the 7th chords, the second chord we played, or the second chord quality we played, was a dominant 7th chord. So the C dominant 7th, 1, 3, 5, flat 7, right? So if I go back to my C major 9th chord voicing here, in order to make it, apply to the dominant 7th quality, I have to take the 7th and flat it. All right, so I have root, 3rd, flat 7, 9. Okay, so that's called a C9, or a C 9th chord. All right, so if you see just a C and a 9 by it, with nothing in between like major or minor, if it just says C9, that means it applies to the dominant 7th quality, so you have to have that flat 7 in there. All right, so the voicing we're playing here for a C9 chord is root, 3rd, flat 7, and 9. Okay, so now you remember when we were playing back to the 7th chords again, that was our C dominant 7th here. Now we played a C minor 7th also, so in order to make the chord a minor, we had to add the flat 3, right? So you do the same thing here. So let's start off with our C major 9 again. All right, then our regular C9. Now to make it a minor 9, I have to flat the third. So here's my third here, I flat it. That gives me a C minor 9 chord. So my voicing is root, flat 3, flat 7, 9. All right. Now we're not going to have anything that has the flat 5 in it because with this voicing, we don't have a fifth anywhere in there. So we're not going to add anything to that. All right. So those are the chords we're going to concentrate on here with this particular voicing. Major 9, the C9, and the C minor 9. All right. So there you have it, your voicing, root 3, 7, 9. And then you make your alteration. So the C9, root 3, flat the 7, 9. C minor 9, root, flat the third, flat 7, 9. All right. So that's one voice. Let me show you one other voicing that has a root. Now you remember in the last video when we focused on the 7th chords, one of the voicings that we played was the 15-37. So in other words, the left hand was playing 1 and 5, right hand was playing 3 and 7, right? So that's our C major 7th chord here with the 15-37 voicing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a 9th on top of that, right there. So the voicing is 1, 5, 3, 7, 9. So then that's my C major 9th chord. Now you might be asking, why would I play it this way as opposed to playing it this way? Well, I don't know if you can hear it or not, but the two sound different. The difference is subtle, but it's there. Let me just play it without saying anything. So here's the first voicing. So you see the difference is very subtle. What you may notice is that when you play it like this, it sounds thicker, so to say. When you play it like this, you still hear the 9th, but it doesn't sound as full or as thick, so to say. So that's the difference. So again, like I stressed in the last video on 7th chords, you know, the way that you play your voicings is going to depend on the sound that you're looking for, okay? And as you practice these voicings and learn the voicings in all 12 keys, then you're going to start to get really familiar with the sound, the way that each voicing sounds. And then over the long haul, the sound will get in your ear, so to say, so that when you hear it, you'll know what it is. You'll be able to recognize it right away, even if you're not at a piano. So that's the cool part about it. All right. So now those are two voicings for you. So the first one we learned was 1379. The second one that we learned was 15379. Okay. So both of those voicings have the root in the chord. Now, let's get into rootless voicings. Now, one of the things I should mention, when you're talking about extensions, you know, 9th, 11th, 13th, there is a lot of information out there, and there are a lot of different places you can actually go with this. But what I want to do is I want to keep this video simple. All right? So now what I want to do is this. Let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to our C major 7th chord. Actually, let me do this. Let me play it an octave lower. So that's our C major 7th chord, right? And I'll put the 9th in the right hand. All right, so when I have everything in root position, we got 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, right? Now, take a look at that. What you'll notice is if I put these 4 notes here in the right hand, I'm actually playing an E minor 7th chord in root position. When I put that C in the left hand, it actually becomes like your E minor 7 chord over a C, right? So now when you're talking about rootless voicings, and, you know, some may be wondering, it's like, well, why would you play a rootless voicing? Again, you're playing it because of the sound. In a lot of schools and universities, they'll teach you if you have a bass player playing with you and you're playing in a group, then you want to stay away from the root because the bass player is playing the root. Okay? This is a generalization. And as I'm sure you're familiar, a lot of times generalizations aren't necessarily true. So this is another case. So in school, they'll teach you, okay, the bass player is playing the root, so you don't want to play it. Okay, that's not always true. Again, everything is based on the sound that you're trying to get. Sometimes when you play the root in your chord, even though the bass player is playing a root, you're going to get a nice full sound. Plus, the sound of the note on the piano is different than the sound of the note on the bass. So it adds some other textures to it. So again, when you're playing, you're going to end up using your ear. But getting back to the chord here, so you see you have an E minor 7 here in the right hand over that root. So another way of thinking of chords is I like to think of them in terms of chords with roots. So in other words, here you got E minor 7. So what if I use one of my E minor 7 voicings that I learned back in the previous video or in the book on 7th chords? Okay, so here's an E minor 7th chord, and it's the 1, 5, 3, 7. So the 1537 voicing, right? If I play an E minor 7 that way, there's a C in the bass. Let me do that again. So C in the bass, and then 1537. All right. So that gives you a sound of a C major 9. Let me do it again. All right. So that's one way to play a C major 9 chord rootless. Just play an E minor 7th chord with a root. All right. Now, let's use our other voicing that we learned in the last video on 7th chords. How about if we play the E minor 7 like this? Okay. If I put that C in the bass, all right, that's a C major 9 chord again. But I'm not necessarily thinking of it like that. Like I said, if you have a bass player, for instance, and they're playing a C, and you're playing that, I'm thinking of a rooted chord. I'm thinking of a E minor 7. All right? So is there a formula for this? Fortunately, there is. All right? So if you think of it like this, a C minor 9 chord, or C major 9, I should say, the root position. If you look at that, again, it's E minor 7 over a C. So one of the things you can think about is that if you start on C and you go up a major third interval right here and play the minor 7th chord a major third higher. All right? And then if you're not familiar with intervals like that, just think of a major third as if this is C and you go up 1, 2, 3, 4 half steps, that gives you a major third. Okay, or another way of thinking of it, if you start on C and go up 1, 2 whole steps, that gives you a major third. All right, so you can play the major third minor 7th chord over the root. Now, let's just go ahead and apply this to another key really quickly. So let's go to the key of F. Let me just play an F major scale. Right? So if I take the minor 7th chord a major third above, so a major third above F, it's going to be A. All right, so if I play an A minor 7 chord over an F, that gives me an F major 9 chord. Again, let's try a different voicing. So let's play F here for the bass, and let's play 1735. And I hit it again. All right, so that gives you a nice sound. Now let's do this. Let's play the other voicing. So if we have 1, 5, 3, 7. Okay, and actually, you know what? Let me play it down here. So I'll play 1, 5, 3, 7. Hit F. Okay, Now you see when I play this voicing low, it doesn't sound all that great. It starts to get a little muddy down there. All right. So another thing that I had mentioned in the previous video is that depending on the voicing that you play, you'll be playing it in different registers of your keyboard because certain voicings sound better in different registers. So that particular voicing there, 1, 5, 3, 7, sounds better up there. All right? That's where we'll play that voicing at. So anyway, that's a brief introduction to Rootless Voicings. And that's kind of the way that I think about Rootless Voicings because, you know, if you think of it with particular numbers, and there's nothing wrong with doing it. Matter of fact, it's good to know both ways. It can get a little confusing. So here's what I mean. So if I go back to the key of C, and let's say we play the E minor 7th, chord voicing, 1, 5, 3, 7, E minor 7, basic voicing over C. Another way that you can think of this is if we relate everything to the key of C in the left hand, I'm playing 3, 7. In the right hand, I'm playing 5 and 9. So another way of thinking of this is 37, 59. Okay? The advantage of this is that you can relate it to the key that you're playing in. So in other words, if you're not able to quickly think of what minor 7th chord you should be playing in relation to the note, then this is an ideal way for you. So in other words, if you say, you know, if you can't think instantly that E minor 7 relates to C, then you can say, okay, well, I can use this voicing, 37, 59. Okay, when you relate it in terms of the key of C, it's 37, 59. When you think about it in the relation of one chord to another, it's the E minor 7 chord over a C with the E minor 7 being voiced 1, 5, 3, 7. Okay? So I know this can get a little confusing and a little tricky. So what I would do is I would pick a way. You know, this way, 37, 59 is easier for you. I would stick with that. All right? If the other way, if you say, okay, well, if I just go up a major third from whatever note I hit, play the minor 7, if that way is easier for you, I would stick with that. All right? But the point is, pick one way and stick with that one way. What'll happen is over time, you'll become familiar with many different ways of doing the same thing. And in music, they call this plurality. All right? So that'll happen over time. But for right now, pick one way and go with that one way. Otherwise, you get confusion. And as you know, confusion is no good in anyone's brain. Okay? So now, let me go ahead and give a little plug real quick. I do have the second volume of that book focusing on 9th and 11th chords. And again, in the book, everything is notated, it's written out for you on the staff, and it's written in all 12 keys. All right? So that way you can, you know, for quick reference, you just pick whatever you need to learn or you want to learn, flip the page, find the key, and bam, there it is right there. Okay? So that's in the second volume of the book that focuses on 9th and 11th chords. Plus, in the book, I'm going to show you a few more voicings that I didn't show you here because of the time constraints. All right? So you'll see a picture of the book, you know, beside me in the video here, and there will be a link in the description. So in the description, just go to the link, click, it'll take you over to a page, and then you can order the book. And once again, we have the book priced very well where it's not going to break the bank. All right? So anyway, on that note, I hope you enjoyed everything in the video. Like I said, when you're dealing with extensions on chords, you know, it can really get quite complicated, but I try to keep everything simple. All right? So anyway, there you have it. So take your time, have fun with everything, and as I always say, have fun and enjoy. See you next time. Take care.